I can solve problems involving angle pairs. We have adjacent angle pairs, complementary angle pairs, and supplementary angle pairs. The steps to solving for these angle pairs is to identify what you're looking at and to set up an equation, because we know that part plus part will equal the whole angle. You then solve the equation, check the solution in Desmos, or you can solve it in Desmos, then answer the question. For example, here you have one angle, angle ABC, that is 6x plus 8. You have another angle, angle CBD, that is 3x minus 8. That box in the corner means these equal 90 degrees. So, in the calculator, we typed both those angles and added them together. 6x plus 8 plus 3x minus 8. And we worked and we found that the solution for x are x equal 10, which made those two angles together equal 90. Now, if they ask for x, you tell them x is 10. But if they ask for the measure of ABC, you have to put that in your calculator and see what it gives you, which is 68 degrees. Then we have to look at the measure of CBD, or it can be called DBC. And we type that in the calculator here, and it tells us the measure of that is 22 degrees. Okay, we're going to go to the next one. This says I can solve problems involving angle pairs. So we're going to talk about vertical angles. You have to identify the angle pair shown, and if it's a vertical angle, you know that angle equals angle. You solve that equation, check your solution in Desmos, and then answer the equation or answer the question. To set this up in Desmos, you would put one of the vertical angles on one line, 12x minus 4 in this case, and the other vertical angle on the next line, 9x plus 32. Then you have to find the x value that makes those two angles equal or congruent. Then when it asks you what's the measure of AEB, you would have to write 140 because that's what our calculator told us. And vertical angles are congruent. So the measure of DEC is also 140 degrees. Okay? Now this says which pair of angle measures is complementary. The best thing to do is remember that complementary equals 90. And I'm going to type that in my calculator just to remind me what I'm looking for. That first one gave me 100, so that's certainly not the answer. 64 plus 64 is 128. That didn't give me the answer. And let's try the third option. That does give me 90, so I'm going to choose C as my answer. But just in case, I am going to go ahead and try the last one to make sure that that doesn't give me 90. It does not. It gives me 180. Okay, so now we're going to look at this last problem that says determine the measure of each missing angle. So I'm going to go ahead and change this back to a stylus so that I can move these numbers. And look at 60 degrees. If you notice, it has a vertical angle straight across from it. So if one side of a vertical angle is 60, that means the other side is also 60. So I've got that there. Now I have to start thinking a little bit. See this line down here at the bottom? 60 plus blank equals 180. So when I know two things equal a number, I start with that number, subtract what I already have, and that tells me that its supplementary angle is 120, because together 120 plus 60 make 180. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to solve that last angle up at the top. If you notice to the left, there's a small box. So that means if that angle there is 90, the ones next to it have a sum of 90 as well. So I'm going to start with 90, and I'm going to subtract the 60 I have, which makes it 30 degrees. So I'm going to put that right over here. The image below shows a pair of adjacent angles. It's telling me, let me go ahead and get my stylus back. It's telling me that the measure of angle HFE, that's the entire angle, is 110 degrees. The whole thing is 110 degrees. And the measure of GFE is 44 degrees. And they want us to calculate the measure of HFG. So this is the one we're looking for. So we have the whole thing and one part. So go to your calculator. First thing you do is type in the whole number, which is 110. That's the entire angle. And you subtract the one piece we know, which is 44. That leaves the other piece, angle HFG, to equal 66 degrees. So that will be the choice for for this question. It would be the measure of HFG is 66 degrees. Okay, the next one we're looking at is architects are studying the Leaning Tower of Pisa and want to collect accurate measurements. Use the following information and the image below to find the value of x. Well, we always tell you, you have to kind of move the angle out and ignore the picture. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to say the measure of angle 1 is 8x minus 9. And the measure of angle 2 is 5x plus 20. We know by looking at them that together they equal 180. So we're going to add them in the calculator. So we're going to start with 8x minus 9 plus 5x plus 20. And we're going to try to find the x value that makes it equal 180. Well, I'm going to start with 0. I always do. That's only 11, but at least I'm going in the right direction. It's positive. So let me try a 5. That got me to 76. So I'm going to try 10. That got me to 141. Now I'm going to slow down and go one at a time. I'm going to try 11, 12, and 13. When I put in x is 13, those two angles added together give me 180 degrees. So that's how I find the x value if that's what it asks for. If it asks for the measure of the angles, then I have to type them in separately. So I'm going to type in the measure of angle 1, 8x minus 9. That angle by itself is 95 degrees. And the measure of angle 2, 5x plus 20. That by itself is 85 degrees. If you add 95 and 85, you get 180. Okay, we've got another problem here, which is in this figure. It says the measure of angle 1 is 2x. So I'm going to go ahead and write 2x where measure of angle 1 is. And the measure of angle 2 is 6x minus 6. Okay, and it wants the measure of angle 1. It's not asking for x, it's asking for the measure of angle 1. I know because of that box in the corner that these two angles together equal 90 degrees. So in my calculator, I'm going to type 2x plus 6x minus 6, and then x equals, and I'm going to try x values until I get to 90. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to try a 10. It's a little bit higher than that. I'm going to try an 11, a 12. X equals 12 gives me 90, but that is not what they're asking me for. They're asking me for the measure of angle 1. Well, angle 1 is 2x. When I type that on the next line, it tells me that the measure of angle 1 is 24 degrees. If I want the measure of angle 2, all I have to do is type it in on the next line. which would be 6x minus 6. And the second angle is 66. And just like with the 180, 24 and 66 give you a total of 90. Now we have vertical angles that we need to look at. We know that vertical angles are equal. So we're going to figure out what x value makes 5x plus 15 equal to its vertical angle 50. The good news is they gave you x values as choices, so we know exactly what we have to do. So 5x plus 15. Since its vertical angle is 50, we know that we want it to equal 50. If we type in x is 50, that's way too high. That gives us 265. So let's try option B. X is 7. That gives us 50. That's exactly what we're looking for. So I'm going to choose that answer, but I'm going to go ahead and try the others as well. So x equals 13. Nope, that's 80, too high. And that means that x equals 30 is going to be way too high at 165 degrees. All right, that looks like the end of that one. That was a long one.